TDS, a tower defense game that gives you guns, miniguns, lasers, and explosions. All with the purpose of preventing the enemies from reaching the end of the track. Seems like you have everything you need, right? But what if I told you that there's one tower, which by the way is only in the intermediate section amongst the likes of Rocketeer. Anyways, that one tower can outperform everything of which I just mentioned. Don't believe me? Take a look. So if Trapper is such a good tower, why is nobody using it? I mean, seriously, I'm currently in a public lobby, and I'm going to check everyone's loadouts until I find Trapper. Now I know what you're thinking. Elite, Trapper is just for catching leaks. If you have a strong enough defense, you won't need Trapper anyways. You're just bad. Fine, I'm going to hear you out, but I probably won't use Trapper anyways. That's more like it. So let's actually analyze the Trapper a little bit more closely. At level 0 it drops 4 spikes in 22 seconds, which gives it a total damage cap of 40. At level 1 it drops 5 spikes in 25 seconds, which means it can do up to 100 damage. At level 2 it drops 6 spikes in 30 seconds, which deal 240 damage, but you also unlock mines at this level, and if you use those, you can do 378 damage in 42 seconds. And at max, it drops 10 spikes in 20 seconds, dealing 1k damage. But if you're using mines or bear traps, you can get 2,870 damage for mines in 45 seconds and 4,000 damage in 75 seconds with bear traps. Now those numbers may sound nice, but why are they any better than, say, an engineer that is just going to do more damage than all of the above? Well, you see, engineer has a range. Trapper does have a range as well, but it isn't this. The actual range is more like this. Infinite. You see, the engineer can only do as much damage as its range permits, while a trapper at the back of the map is technically generating DPS for the entire duration of the enemies walking around the track. So by the time they reach the traps, it's able to do a lot more damage than any other tower for the same cost. Especially because each wave in TDS, including short maps, usually gives more than enough time for Trapper to build up all of its traps, it is able to perform at its maximum potential every single wave. Also, Trapper is secretly better than the stats I mentioned before. Every time Trapper builds up all of its traps, it's hiding one more, which is going to throw the second as one of its old traps is destroyed. So take every number I previously had and add a trap to it. Now let's actually look at what the previous numbers mean. Let's take level 1 Trapper. For just $500, we can build up 4, and technically 5, traps to deal 50 damage to enemies in just this little range. Now let's take Golden Soldier and give it a big range to work with. $28 damage dealt. That's about half of what Trapper would have done for that same price. And mind you, Gold Soldier is from a $50,000 golden crate, while Trapper is just 3,000 coins in the intermediate section. With just one upgrade to the Trapper, it'll be able to do 100, technically 120 damage, which is nearly 5 times better than the Golden Soldier for only twice the price. Now, of course, Golden Soldier didn't get the best possible placement, but neither did Trapper, meaning it works great for literally all maps in the game, except Dual Lane, which by the way the best player, Wither, still finds a way to use it on. By the way, the traps have free hidden detection as well, so that's just yet another bonus. Now it probably sounds like I'm tooting Trapper's horn. There's gotta be some sort of drawbacks, right? Like, nobody's using it. Well, one is that you have to wait for a while for it to build up its traps, and that's about it. What I brought up so far, however, isn't even what makes Trapper so good. For that, we have to move on to level 2. This is the most cost-efficient level, giving you a total damage capacity of 280. That is including the extra trap that it throws. That's not even the best part, as now you can set it to drop mines instead of normal spikes. The mines have both an upside and downside. They will instantly explode when an enemy touches them, meaning they can't take many spread out hordes, but in return, they do a lot more damage. In fact, for $2,500 only, you are getting a damage cap of 441. This includes the damage they take from burning. To give you a perspective of how much 441 truly is, the level 0 accelerator, costing over $4,000, will have to charge and shoot its beam for nearly 3 overcharges just to match the damage cap of this trapper. Not to mention, the trapper will do even more damage to hordes since the mines have an explosion radius. Are you convinced to use it yet? It's only good in the early game. Just bring Engineer, it'll pay off in the long run. Okay, genius. You know you can bring Engineer and Trapper in the same loadout, right? But you do have a point. Its stats are only good in the early game. Said no one. Level 3 might not be the most cost-efficient upgrade. I'll just straight up tell you that. You're better off spamming level 2. But max level Trapper. You probably won't end up using the spike since it only gives you a damage cap of 1k. But the mine and bear trap. Both of these have an insane damage cap, with the mine being able to do nearly 3,000 damage, and the bear trap doing a whopping 4,400 damage. With all 7 trappers placed, you can get over 30k damage in one little section of the map. This makes it easily the best counter to fast and tanky enemies, since it doesn't need a long range to perform at its maximum potential. When it comes to the mine though, you don't even want it at the back of your defense, no. You want it smack dab in the middle. This is because every enemy that this trap hits on explosion will also take an extra 112 damage over time. This is because the enemies burn. So a single trap from this thing could hit 10 enemies and deal over 1,000 damage just because they all take 112 damage from burning. At the time of this video, the mine is also glitched, where if you set a low-level trapper to mines and then max it out, the fire rate for the mine will be the fire rate for the spike, effectively meaning it shoots mines out twice as fast. This is over 100 splash DPS, which is comparable to max level mortar. This little guy can be compared to this nuclear cannon. Not really, since the mortar has like full map range and a much bigger explosion, but still, a 3,000 coin intermediate tower being able to compare to the kings of early game defense and crowd control is nothing to overlook. As a matter of fact, this very solo Fallen Dead Ahead run was recorded over multiple sessions, where I died before because, believe it or not, I invested in engineers and golden cowboys instead of trappers. This tower also recently made an appearance in one of the most effective gem grinding strategies as well, but hold on a second. If you just go off and use it willy-nilly, you'll lose. Thing is, Trapper is not the easiest tower to use. For that, here's some tips. Tip number 1. Don't upgrade the Trapper at any random time. You see, if this level 0 Trapper throws out 4 of its 10 damage traps, I only have 40 damage on the track. If I were to just upgrade it right now, it'll build up only 1 more trap, bringing its total damage capacity up to only 60, whereas a normal level 1 Trapper with all of its improved traps would have 100 damage on the track, and technically 120 with that extra trap. So to conclude this tip, only upgrade your Trapper after it has lost some of its lower level traps, or upgrade it quickly after placing it so it doesn't fill up its placement with too many low level traps. Tip number 2, the arguably most important one, is that you should just like the video, subscribe, and use Star Code E, because I told you about the best intermediate tower in TDS. Also thank me in the comments, and goodbye.